We are talking quarterbacks, and not just for the Miami Dolphins. What is up, football fans, but also Fin fans? I told you I was going to make this video. And essentially, the 2023 quarterback market, when it comes to free agency, when it comes to trades, when it comes to all that good stuff, there's some names on it, right? So I wanted to make a video kind of talking about the names, talking about potential trades, who could be for them, who can this, who that, da. So again, like I said in that intro, some of them may pertain to the Miami Dolphins because, again, I haven't done my team needs video yet, but the Dolphins kind of need a legit backup quarterback because we saw what happened, Tua went down, and then Teddy Bridgewater came in, and then he went down, and then Skylar Thompson came in, and then he went down, so Teddy Bridgewater went back in, then he went down, and Miami Dolphins need a legit backup quarterback, and Skylar could be that, but again, they need to add some depth. So some of this could pertain to the Miami Dolphins, but most of it is just something I wanted to talk about because the 2023 quarterbacks that are available is pretty crazy. But before we jump into this list and I start naming people, I got to shout out some new members and patrons. On the membership side, Tom Breeden and Finn Daddy Dougie B. Thank you guys so much for hitting that join button next to the subscribe button and becoming a member. And on the Patreon side, Gerardo Arez. I apologize if I pronounced your last name wrong, but I do greatly appreciate you joining the Patreon. If you'd like to join the Patreon, it is linked below. In this offseason, I have so many contents. I can't even speak. So much content for you guys over on the Patreon side. You guys get special videos that no one else will see. So let's jump into this, and I'm going to talk about... So I have about, I'd say, 5 quarterbacks that I'm going to talk about that are big names. One of them a big name now, that are going to really test the free agent market and test some big trades this free agency. And then I have some backup names and some names lower down the totem pole that I'm also going to talk about. But first and foremost, let's talk about one of the big names that are out there, and that's Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson isn't happy with what's going on over in Baltimore. They made the trade for Roquan Smith, and then they pay Roquan Smith a good, amount of money. Supposedly, they've been offering Lamar Jackson certain contracts, and he's been turning them down. He's not happy, right? He wants to be paid like Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun Watson's contract and what the Cleveland Browns did with Deshaun Watson completely ruined the quarterback market. Because he got a $200+ million contract, fully guaranteed. So now quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and these other guys want fully guaranteed contracts. Now, not saying that Deshaun Watson is the first one to do it. Obviously, Kirk Cousins did it. But that is something that Lamar's looking for. Now, what are the Baltimore Ravens, said Philadelphia Eagles, what are the Baltimore Ravens going to do about this? Well, Lamar Jackson's a free agent. So they have 2 options. They can, one, exclusive tag him, which means no one can negotiate with him. No one can talk to him. And he is a part of the Baltimore Ravens and will get paid $45.2 million in 2023. And they could possibly tag him and trade him. But that's a lot of money. And as of right now, the Baltimore Ravens are sitting at $38 million in cap space. So they would be in the negative by a couple million. 12 million, they'd be in the negative, give or take. So that's something they could think of, or they can use a non-exclusive tag, which would be less money. Again, they only have 33 million in cap space. It'd be less money, but other teams can negotiate with Lamar. So the non-exclusive means obviously the player's not exclusive to the team. So Lamar can talk to other teams, negotiate contracts. A team like the Atlanta Falcons, who have 56 million in cap space, or a team like the New England Patriots, who have 46 million in cap space, could go out and throw a fat amount of money at him and say, hey, we'll pay you, 20 million this year, but then we'll pay you this much next year, structure a certain way. And if Lamar agrees, then the Baltimore Ravens get 2 first-round picks minimum in that trade. So that's one name that's out there, right? And one name that a lot of people are going to be keeping their eyes on is Lamar Jackson. What's going on with Lamar? What's going on with Lamar? Another name that people are going to keep their eye on, and this is a name that's been brought up a lot, that's Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers, he hasn't said whether he doesn't want to play for the Green Bay Packers again. He actually has been non-committal, but it kind of seems like it's hard to pick up, to be honest with you. Now, he has a big fat contract. In 2023, he's going to get paid through $31.6 million. In 2024, he's getting paid $40 million, and he just signed that contract extension. He signed that contract extension, and then they traded Devontae Adams, and all this stuff happened. But they started listening to him, and they brought back a bunch of receivers, and they were like, "Okay, whatever you need, we'll help you." But now he is a possibility to be traded. Again, possibility. This is another name we're going to be looking at on. Now, from what I'm hearing is the Green Bay Packers aren't going to trade him to the NFC. So the teams like the Seattle Seahawks, probably not going to happen. You know, they got $31.5 million in cap space. That doesn't seem like a likely landing spot, which means it's more of the AFC. So you're looking at the Jets, you're looking at the Patriots, you're looking at all these quarterback-needy teams in the AFC. Now, obviously, the Jets you're going to hear the Jets name a lot because they have a very good team, a very good defense, but they don't have that star quarterback. 2008. Tell me if the Jets don't go out and try their hardest to get Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't feel like 2008 when they went out and tried to get and got Brett Favre. Tell me you don't feel like that. But yeah, so Aaron Rodgers, right? Now, the Green Bay Packers are going to want 2 first-round picks. Guaranteed, bare minimum. Multiple, league MVP, Super Bowl winning quarterback. They're going to want a minimum of 2 first-round picks. But here's the thing. You're going to pay up 2 first-round picks for a quarterback who already has a foot out the door. He already has, people contacting him about getting up in that booth. He contemplated retiring last year. So it's like, you're going to give up 2 firsts? And look at the New York Jets, right? Say the New York Jets, go all out. They're like, this is it. This is what we need. We got the defense. We got pieces. They got the running back, the young running back who's coming back from injury. Let's go. They're negative $2.6 million in cap space. They need to move a lot of cap space to afford a guy like Aaron Rodgers. And then you have teams like the Colts, like the Patriots, like I said, they got $46 million in cap space. You got a team like the Colts, they got $20 million in cap space. You got the Raiders, $21 million in cap space, and I'll talk about the Raiders in a second. You got all of these possibilities, but Aaron Rodgers is another guy we're going to watch. He has a lot of money due to him. He's not going to retire and just walk away from $100 million. So he's either going to run it back with the Packers one last time, or he's going to get traded. And if he gets traded, it's going to be a big move. Speaking of trading, and like I said with the Raiders, you got Derek Carr. Derek Carr this past season was 15th in passing yards, 13th in passing touchdowns, 32nd in completion percentage, and 25th in quarterback rating with an 86.3. They benched him, and he came out and he wrote his goodbyes to the Raider Nation and all this stuff. So it's more likely than not that he is not going to be a Raider next year. Now, what could he command on the trade market? Well, from what I'm hearing, you could think of something kind of like a Carson Wentz deal where he went to Indy and got a third and the Philly got a third and conditional first, possibly multiple firsts. The Raiders might want a higher first round pick because they're going to have to replace Derek Carr. So if it's not in free agency and if it's not with some other names that I'm going to talk about, they're going to want to draft their replacement and probably move up to get their replacement. His contract's not so bad, right? $34.8 million this year. If he is cut, the Raiders save $29 million. If it's cut traded, or if he's cut traded past June 1st, they can save $33 million. But they'll probably just, from what I'm hearing, if they can't trade him, they're going to just release him and save the $29 million, which makes him, out there on the market for anyone to grab. Again, a name you're going to hear is the Jets, but again, they're at negative $2 million. So they need to move a lot of cap space if they want to go out and get Derek Carr, or they're going to hope and pray that he gets cut so they can go out and get Derek Carr. But he's a name also on the trade market. But again, if they can't make any moves and if they can't get anything substantial that they want, which is like high first, mid to high first, they're probably going to release him and save that $29 million in cap space. Some other names out there, obviously, Tom Brady, 45-year-old, still number 2 in passing yards, 5,054, 9th in passing touchdowns, 27th. He was 15th in completion percentage. He was 20th in passer rating, 89.2. He's going to want to be a starter. So he's not going to go to a team that is looking for a good backup. You know, it's Tom flipping Brady, right? He's not going to go to a team and deal with all that. Again, Miami is linked to him, not because the Dolphins said they wanted him, but because, you know, he has a house in Miami, because Giselle has a house in Miami. There was a video of him looking at schools in Miami, and everyone's like, oh, he's going to the Dolphins. Even though, again, Giselle and his kids live in Miami. But don't be surprised if, like, the Raiders try to go out and get Tom Brady. You know, McDaniels is familiar with him. You know, he'd have Devontae Adams. He'd have some pieces, even though I'm hearing, and this is for a different video, that Waller is available for trade. And there's a bunch of guys that are available for trade, supposedly with the Raiders, which I find very interesting. But Tom Brady, you know, he's not going to command a buttload of money like Lamar Jackson, like Aaron Rodgers, like another guy that I'm going to mention on this list. It's probably going to be around like $15 million on the year. He's going to want starter-ish money, but he's made so much. Again, he's 45 that he doesn't really need to make the money. He more wants that ring. So he's a name that's out there. And again, I would be surprised if he lands in Miami. I think Miami is more looking for a very good backup, like a very good backup that I'll name some. Because they already said Tua is the starter. They could be lying, and it wouldn't be the first time that they lied when they constantly were like, we're not going to talk about Deshaun, we're going to talk about Deshaun. But, you know, there's always that presence of Deshaun, so they could be lying. But I'd be genuinely surprised if Tom Brady lands in Miami. Again, the Colts are a possibility. The Raiders are a possibility. Would he go to the Jets? I doubt it. Unless the Jets feel like, hey, let's try to get a Super Bowl this year. But to me, it seems, again, if they're going for Aaron Rodgers, he seems like a one-year Band-Aid. Derek Carr seems better for the Jets, but Tom Brady just doesn't make sense to me to go to the Jets. But Tom Brady's another name out there. The last one I'm going to go more in depth with is Geno Smith. Now, Geno Smith is a free agent, right? And if you go on PFF, you go on all these sites where they talk about top available free agents in 2023, Geno Smith's up there. He was 8th in passing yards. He was number 1 in completion percentage. He was 4th in passing touchdowns. He was 6th with a passer rating of 100.8. He came out of nowhere when the Seattle Seahawks traded Russell Wilson and they got Drew Lock and they had Geno Smith and Geno Smith started. I remember the beginning of the season, we're all like, oh my God, Seattle's going to suck. They're going to fall apart, blah, blah, blah. And Geno Smith was like, shut up. And he did really well. So Geno Smith, is he going to stay with Seattle? Most likely. I honestly think that he'll stay with Seattle, especially because they made the playoffs, so their first round pick isn't too high. Actually, the Denver first round, but they'd have to move up to get the quarterback, which possibility. But I see him staying with Seattle, and I could see him probably getting around 25 million plus around there a year, because he did so well that he is now, you know, warranting of a starter contract. Now, he's not going to get the 10 million or like the 12, 15 million. I see around like 20 plus million, give or take, because of how well he played. But again, he is a free agent. So would he test the free agent market? Would he be like, hey, I put up some, you know, top 10 quarterback numbers. Let me test this free agent market. Let me see how much the Jets will pay me. See how much the Colts will pay me. Maybe the Falcons, 56 million in cap space. How much will they pay me? Fun fact, I, on Twitter, put general question, Geno Smith to the Dolphins. And some people lost their flipping mind, thinking I'm talking about Geno Smith taking over for Tua and this. I was a genuine question. Would it be a viable backup / competition for Tua to bring Geno Smith in, blah, blah, blah. And then some guys were like, nah, he's going to want more money than this. And I'm like, that makes sense. Genuine question. People lost their minds. It literally was hilarious to me. I was asking a general question, getting a feel, and people were like, what are you out of your mind? Hilarious to me. And then we have names that aren't as sexy. Well, there's a name that I'm hearing, right? There's a name that I'm hearing and I'm seeing in this article, a potential, trade candidate, and it's Kirk Cousins. This person said he just got an extension last offseason, but if any GM would be willing to make a surprise deal that prioritizes the future, it might be the Vikings GM, who publicly questioned Cousins' ceiling a year ago. They'd actually save $17.5 million by trading Cousins. The issue, they're not in a prime position to draft a premium successor. Could they go out? Could they trade Kirk Cousins and go out and get one of these names that I was talking about? Could they go out and get Lamar Jackson and trade Kirk Cousins? So Kirk Cousins might be a name out there. But some other names out there, Ryan Tannehill. Now, he'd have to be traded or cut because he's on the active roster. He's under contract with the Tennessee Titans. If he was cut, they would save $17.8 million, cut or traded, and then past June 1st, they would save $27 million, cut/traded. Imagine bringing Ryan Tannehill back to back up Tua Tagovailoa. And again, this is a video I'm going to talk about probably later on in the week, where I talk about needs and how important it is to me, or maybe I might do a video on itself, how important a good backup is for the Miami Dolphins. But Ryan Tannehill's that type of guy. You can plug him in for a game or two, especially if you got a good running game and you got, good pieces around him. He can win you some games. How many times did he go to the playoffs with the Tennessee Titans? His first year there was really good. But Ryan Tannehill is a possible name out there. But I think Ryan Tannehill might be, his career might be more of a backup role now. I don't know. Yeah. But again, you look at the flipping Indianapolis Colts. He might go to Indy and try to be their starter, just like Matt Ryan, just like Carson Wentz, just like how many names. But I see Ryan Tannehill more as a very good backup to help a team in certain situations. And then you have Daniel Jones, right? And I can honestly see the New York Giants trying their hardest to re-sign Daniel Jones, especially because they didn't pick up his fifth-year option. So I have him on here, but I have him in parentheses to re-sign. I doubt Daniel Jones hits the open market. I think what he did this season, especially with Brian Daboll, shows that he can be a very good starter for them. They have $45 million in cap space, so they can definitely afford to give him that number of, again, you're thinking $20 million, give or take, that Geno Smith style number. I could see him and Geno Smith having the same number on their contract. Not so much Lamar, where he's looking for the bank. But then you have backups. You have names possibly the Dolphins could be looking at. And again, I'll talk more about this when I talk about free agent targets that the Dolphins have. But you have like Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, that one game against the Rams where he was with the team for 4 days. And he won him the game, came in, marched him down the field, won him the game. Baker Mayfield, I wanted the Dolphins to draft him that year, but he went number 1 to the Cleveland Browns. I liked Baker coming out of college. Possibility. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a name out there. I don't want the Miami Dolphins anywhere near Jimmy Garoppolo. We have a problem where Tua can't stay healthy, and, we lost a bunch of games because of his concussion and because of his health. Then you're going to bring in Jimmy Garoppolo, who is equally as injury prone and equally as, has not a great ability of staying on the field. No. And then the last name I'm going to talk about, and again, this is just a name I'm going to throw out there. You guys can discuss it in the comments section below. Taylor Heinicke. Taylor Heinicke did well with Washington. And again, he's probably going to be a backup. And then you have names like Carson Wentz. You have names what are the 49ers going to do with Trey Lance? Jared Goff. What are the Detroit going to do with Jared Goff? Matt Ryan is out there. If Aaron Rodgers decides to stay with Green Bay, you got Jordan Love. But my whole point of this is this free agent market, and when it comes to the quarterbacks, it's going to be very, very interesting. There's a lot of big names: Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Derek Carr. There's some big names out there that are going to be moving pieces. So I wanted to make this video to kind of talk about names and all that stuff and how crazy this free agency is going to be. It's going to be very, very interesting. But again, you look at the cap space, the Chicago Bears are just stacked, but they need to sign. They need to revamp that team, but they have 115 million in cap space. The team with the second most cap space is the Atlanta Falcons with 56 million. 56 million. That's like 60 plus million, give or take, less than the number one team. And then there's a lot of teams in the negatives. New York Jets, Steelers, Panthers, Browns, Rams, Vikings, Dolphins, Packers, Bills, Chargers, Titans, Jaguars, Saints, Buccaneers, all in the negative. And the Tennessee Titans are negative 23 million. So them moving on from Tannehill would really help them. But there is a lot of teams in the negative. And even Dallas only has 900,000. Philadelphia Eagles only 5 million. So there's going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing. There's going to be a lot of pieces moving this free agency market, and this free agency is going to be real fun. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, hit the subscribe button. I got a ton of videos planned. We're going to be talking team needs. Then I'm going to be talking about targets. I'm going to be talking about the backup quarterback position. I have so many. And then I'm going to, do the fan reaction to the Miami Dolphins 2022 season. I got so much planned for you guys. I will see you guys in the next one. But like usual, stay classy. If in top.